Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development program, and in particular the AWD 1111.NET Framework with Web Databases class for the fall 2019 semester, I am creating a series of video presentations for the textbook for the class, Pro ASP.NET MVC 5. So far, I did a video on how to uninstall Visual Studio 2017 Community Edition and install Visual Studio 2019 Community Edition and the packages you'll need. And I did all of Chapter 1, putting ASP.NET MVC in context. I am about halfway through Chapter 2, your first MVC application. And in particular, we are at page 25, which is entitled Creating a Simple Data Entry Application. So the author says here, for the rest of this chapter, we're going to talk about some more MVC features by building a simple data entry app. The goal is to demonstrate MVC in action, so some of the stuff will be skipped, but it will be covered in later chapters. So, setting the scene. Imagine a friend has decided to host a New Year's Eve party, and that friend has asked you to create a web app that allows her to invite people electronically and have them RSVP. Doesn't sound like a big task. She has asked for 4 key features. Number 1, a home page that shows party info. Number 2, a form that can be used for your RSVP. Number 3, validation for the RSVP form. All right, and the RSVP will eventually, once it's valid, display a thank you page. And finally, RSVP's email to the party host when complete. In the following sections, as the author says, he will build up the MVC project created at the start of the chapter and add these features and this functionality. It says I can check the first item off the list by applying what I covered earlier and adding some HTML to my existing view to give party details. So in other words, we want to add this. See this? So we want to come in and add a little bit of text. Whoops. We want to come in and add a little bit of text to our index.cs HTML file. There we are. We want to come down here and add this, which will give us a paragraph saying we're going to have an exciting party. And after that, we'll say to do, all right, add pictures or something, and our ending paragraph tag. When we run it, it should look like this. All right. Now, not positive if we're going to get another blank line here or not, so I'm going to put another BR tag in there just to be sure. Okay? So, File, Save All. Let's right mouse click again on index.cs HTML and view this in the browser. And we should have our good afternoon world like we did before. What we just added is this. Not real fancy, etc., but we're trying to meet the needs of the person for whom we are building this application. All right, that is what it looked like. All right, so far, and I've already mentioned this to you, so far what we have done is we have used the controller, so the C part of MVC, to do everything. That's not the way that you should write ASP.NET MVC applications. As mentioned here, yes, I'll do some reading, but I don't want to read it all to you. The M stands for model. The model is a representation of the real-world objects, processes, etc., known as the application's domain. It's what makes up the application. The model is also known as the domain model. All right, it contains C# classes from which we make objects known as domain objects. As it says here, the views and controllers expose the domain to the clients in a consistent manner. I don't need a complex model for party invites because it's a simple application. I need just one domain class to call that we'll call guest response. The object will be responsible for storing, validating, and confirming an RSVP. So the MVC convention, as it says, is if you're going to create a new model, like we're about to do right here, you place it in the models folder. So we're going to right mouse click on it, choose add class. We're going to give it the name guestresponse.cs and click the add button. Not really very hard. Took longer to explain than it does to do. Right mouse click on models, choose add, go down to the bottom where it says class, change the name from class1.cs to guestresponse.cs, no spaces, click add. There we've got it. Again, notice how this has changed. The namespace, which is the name of our main folder, all right, which is the project folder, party, invites, and now we are under the models folder. And we just created guest response. That's what this is. The author says if you don't have a class, yeah, that's fine. All right, so this is what we want to add in here. If we were going to put this into a database, this is what we'd have. A string representing the name, a string representing the email, a string representing the phone number, and a Boolean or true-false variable saying whether or not the person will attend. True, yes, they're coming to the party. False, no, they're not. And you may or may not have noticed there's a question mark here, which means it can be nullable. In other words, really there's three different values. True, false, or null, meaning that we don't know yet whether they're coming or not coming. So we want to come into our area here and just paste that in. All right, for now at least. The system has put that in there. There really aren't the blank lines, but you can see what's in here. These are all also known as, since they're in a class, class properties. We've got the auto property get set that we set for each one of them. All right. Linking action methods. I am on the middle of page 27. One of the application's goals is to include an RSVP form. So we'll need to add a link from the CS HTML or index.cs HTML view. All right. This is the first time we've seen this. Let's put this in, then we'll come back and talk about what it means. All right. Okay. This line right here is known as an HTML helper. What it will do is it's like we created an A link, all right, and this is what we want underlined, and this is where we'll want it to go. All right, and I believe that's probably pretty much what they say here on the bottom of the page. Again, HTML.ActionLink is an HTML helper method. The MVC framework comes with a collection of built-in methods. Many of these are used when you're working with forms, which is what we're about to work with. The action link parameter takes two parameters. This is the text to display for the underlying link text. This is the action to perform when you click that link. Again, the author will explain more about helper methods in chapters 21, 22, and 23. So putting this in, this is now what we should have when we run it again. And if we take our mouse and just put it on here, it should show exactly where it is that we desire to go when the link is indeed clicked. All right. So before I run this, I'm going to again add one more blank line here. All right. Do a file, save all. Okay. And again, right mouse click on index.cshtml and choose View in Browser. Now it should look identical to what's in the book. And hopefully you've already figured out that if I click on this, I guess I didn't need to hit enter, put another, but that's fine. I'm going to get an error message here because I don't have anything called RSVP form. We'll fix that momentarily. All right, I'm going to leave that. I like that a little better with that extra space there. The tip there says, note that unlike traditional ASP.NET applications, the URLs do not respond or correspond to physical files. All right? So it says right now we should have gotten the file not found error when we click the link because we don't have that. All right? I will do this by adding a method called RSVP form to the home controller class. All right, so we'll want to go back to our home controller and add this. Again, hopefully you'll start to see, if you're not already, a pattern emerging when we're starting to do this stuff. So we want to come down to here. Okay, there's our new method. The method is called RSVP form, and it will return a view result, just like we did up here for our index method. I'm going to add a view for the RSVP form action method, but in a slightly different way, the author says. I'm going to create a strongly typed view, which is intended to render a specific domain type. If I specify the type I want to work with, which is going to be type guest response, MVC can create some shortcuts to make our life easier. Now, before we do this, okay, we have to build our solution. It's just a quirk in this software. So in other words, I want to come here and just do a file, save all, and a build solution. If I have any problems, I'm going to get an error window that's going to pop up here. I don't think I've done anything yet where I can have any problems. All right, so that's all been done. So we've done that. So I'm going to want to right mouse click on this form method and choose add view. When it comes up, I'm going to want it to look like this. All right. RSVP form empty, guest response, and all those being unchecked. So let's see if we can do that. Okay, so right mouse click, add view, RSVP. We don't want it empty without model. We just want this to be empty. All right. Oops. The model class should be guest response. There it is. And we leave all of these here empty. Okay, so click add. And notice what we have now. Another CSHTML file. Rather than index.cshtml, this is RSVP form.cshtml. This is what should come up. I'm just going to put some junk in here. I'm going to have it say, hello from the form. All right? Just for now, just for a second. And I'm going to do a file, save all, and I'm going to right mouse click on my index file and view it in the browser again. And notice when I click this now, hello from the form. I did go right to the form. All right, the form has something in it now, whereas before we got the error message because there was no file associated with it, no view associated with it. All right. So, we've done all that. The first line that's in here says, @model party invites .models.guest response. All right. And it says here, the options that you select and check will determine the initial content. This is saying that in order for this to work, we have to be able to access from our model, all right, the party invites models guest response. All right, as I'm up now to page 30, and I'll have to check my time because I know I'm getting close if I'm not there already. I am. So I will come back and build the form. Come back and build the form in the next part of this chapter.